Thanks for joining us today. My name is Krista White. I'm the Director of Marketing here at Crow Canyon, and I wanted to introduce you to our topic of the day, which is 2023, the year to do more with less, and building automation in Microsoft 365 and Teams. Now, before we get started, just a little bit of housekeeping. There's a few things to go over. First of all, we want to make this call as interactive as possible. So we don't want to talk at you for the next 45 minutes. We really want to have a dialogue. So if you have any questions, go ahead and pop them into the question box there. We have a couple people helping keep an eye on the questions for us today, and we'll look forward to answering all of your questions as well. Now, there will be a recording, so you don't have to worry about taking notes or anything. You can just sit back and enjoy the webinar, and we'll send you that recording. And then today will also be really more of a high-level overview of everything that we're talking about. There's so much to dive into. So we'll keep it high level, but if you have questions about your specific organization and want to discuss how you might go about dealing with various things in automation and kind of preparing for the year ahead, we're here for you. That's our specialty. So we also can schedule a one-on-one demo with you afterwards. So now with that in mind, let's go ahead and get started. Alrighty, so we are Crow Canyon. We are the creators of NITRO Studio, and we're a Microsoft preferred business application, and we're GSA certified as well. We have provided and developed solutions in the SharePoint and Office 365 arena. Well, Microsoft 365 arena is what they call it now. For hundreds of companies globally, we've been doing this for a long time. My name, again, is Krista White, but I'm joined today by Jeff Preece, our COO, and James Restivo, our VP of Product Development. Now, a little bit more about what we do. So here at Crow Canyon, our specialty is helping businesses succeed with Microsoft 365, Teams, and SharePoint. And we provide business applications for innovative out-of-the-box solutions. And as I mentioned, we are also the creators of no-code NITRO Studio forms and workflows. You may have heard of us. NITRO is an adaptable application creation platform, so there's a lot you can do. We also provide advanced chatbots and apps for Microsoft Teams to help power productivity and take organizations to the next level. So one last thing I should note is all of our products run in Microsoft 365, including GCC and GCC High, as well as SharePoint 2013, 2016, 2019, and SE. So that's a little bit about us, kind of where we come from. Now, with that being said, I wanted to go ahead and get things started actually with a couple polls here. So the first here, have you done any business process automation? So answers are coming in. We've got a fairly even split so far. Some yes, some no. Looks like, yeah, about 57% yes, 43% no.
Interesting.
Okay. Oh, now we're at 50-50. So that's great. I know there's, we've got everyone covered here. Now one more for us here. I want to talk about what business process automation tools you've looked at, just to kind of get a sense where everyone's coming from. You've looked at Power Platform, Nintex, Crow Canyon, someone else, or are you just kind of starting to look and get into the idea of automation? Again, just kind of want to make sure we're having an appropriate conversation with you today. All right, answers are coming in.
Hey, are you able to show those results when they come in, just kind of across the board, or is it in terms of percentage, Krista? Or?
Yeah, it looks like so far, so we've got 36% Power Platform, 40% Power Platform, 0% Nintex, 13% Crow Canyon, 20% other, and 27% are just starting to look.
Great.
And then one last question for you today. Where do you see yourself starting your business automation journey? Or when do you see yourself starting your journey? Go ahead and launch that one too. Last question, then we'll get into it. So we've got some people who have already started, some people who are just kind of dipping their little toe into it, testing out the waters. We've got a good spread. We've got some who are a bit further out as well. So let's see. Okay. Yeah, it looks like we've got 53% have already started. 24% are looking at 0 to 3 months. 6% 3 to 6 months, 6% 6 to 12 months, and 12% 12 or more months.
So that's
right.
Guys, thanks for participating. That helps us out as kind of just gauge, you guys on the call. Clearly we can't see your faces. I wish we could, but I guess that's the thing of a webinar, right? So you get to see us, but we don't get to see you. But I think that feedback does help. So what I want to do is we jump into this conversation. There's a couple of things. One, I want to talk about the challenges, 2023, kind of how to approach some of those for business process automation. We want to do a short demo to kind of show you the product. We won't do a deep dive because that's, even at a simple level is an hour on its own. So we'll do that though at a high level. And then we'll continue the discussion a bit, wrap it up. But let's jump in. So top 2023 challenges. So, this is as a core business for us, helping customers automate business processes, create applications that make things easier for them within their operational environment. We put a lot of thought into what customers need. We talk to our customers regularly. We have prospects that we're collecting information from as well as what they want to do. And then what we find is that there's always a driver. Now, 2023, the driver, there's a couple main drivers. And as I read a lot of analyst reports, Gartner, Forrester, there's a lot of reports out there that I read, I collect, and try to understand, what they are seeing in all their interviews with leaderships out there of various organizations. And so these are sort of the three top right now going into 2023. The economic downturn, supply chain problem, we all know this story, right? Inflation has created constraints that has been leading conversations towards how do I do more with less? Inflation is the main reason why organizations are revisiting investments to protect operating margins. At the same time, organizations must consider sort of these differentiating digital capabilities, while they're optimizing business operations in light of this potential recession. I think we already are in a recession of sorts, right? But is it going to get worse? Maybe. I think that there's some assumption that perhaps it will, but let's be optimistic, as we look forward that maybe things can turn around and get better. The other is labor shortage. I don't know if you guys have faced this. It'd be a great poll question to see if this is something you struggle with, but according to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, there's 11 million open positions out there in the U.S., 11 million. And there's also, to exacerbate the problem, there's about 7 million post-COVID of able-bodied workers that just don't want to re-enter the workforce.
Wow.
So that causes some challenges when we're trying to fill positions. As we grow, and we've been filling positions as well, we find ourselves kind of in that same position as trying to find good talent, competing against good talent, et cetera. The other is the remote workforce or hybrid workforce. There's been large scale advancements in technology that helps facilitate this work from home environment. This shift towards a hybrid work culture provides IT leaders a challenge, right? One is this how do we deal with that? But the other is how do we reinvent the business model? And through in doing that, it's how do you do that? It's through digital transformation. Digital tools to engage your employees, to connect with customers, from a non-brick and mortar traditional work environment. We can go ahead and go right on to the next slide there. So the other is on concern is around productivity. So this idea of doing more with less. There's the idea of maybe not having enough people, or maybe companies have to lay off, or maybe they need, as they're growing, they need more human capital just to get manpower to get things done. And so that's where the opportunity comes in to figure out where can we automate. And so I have these sort of 3 bullet points here to kind of from a simple approach to looking at your automation and digital transformation journey. And one is initially is identifying opportunities. And so what we find where we've been successful is in working with clients is we identify opportunities, and primarily what comes to mind are the more transactional, simple opportunities of things that are low-hanging fruit. There's always much more complex business processes that can be automated as well, and that can and will be in the future. But I think that identifying opportunities, making the list, evaluating those in terms of complexity, scoring those perhaps, prioritizing them, and then work on a plan towards implementation. So implementation itself is for us is the low-hanging fruit. We feel is that's your starting point. That's what we suggest, and that's what we're suggesting today. I'm going to turn this over to James because James has a lot of, he heads all our product development, works with customers on the delivery side, and he understands this intimately. So I want to turn this over to him and talk about some of the low-hanging fruit, some complexity, but also jumping into a demo. James?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Jeff. I appreciate that. And some eye-popping statistics there from earlier. That's a really incredible labor shortage situation that we have. That leads to how do you manage your business processes in the most efficient manner? And a lot of you, more than half of you, have already started that journey of having to do that. And there's various things that you can take a look at as processes that give you really quick wins, right? So you could do it with NITRO. In the SharePoint space, you have these really quick wins with like a leave request system that will just simply take a form, person fills it out, says when they need to take their leave, and it goes right to their manager for approval. No more do you have to chase down emails. Did you get my request? Is it approved? Like all that gets automated with NITRO in having the notification go directly to the manager, the notification on approval or denial with the information as to why it was approved or why it was denied. Going back to the person, like, hey, we have 5 other employees out that day. You can't take that day. Sorry. That happens. But that kind of information, that facilitation of communication, is part of what this automation is all about. But that's a really, I would say simple level. Leave request system is just simple. Bing, bang, boom, submit it, get it approved, denied, make a decision, communicate that decision back to the person, and then they can either make plans or adjust as needed. But you can also kind of take that level up into a purchase request solution, which we offer out of the box, which is a way for someone to submit a purchase request with a pre-canned group of items that they can select from. So you can build up a whole catalog. You can have them add ad hoc purchases in there, and the complexity comes in the approval process. So when you have a purchase request coming through, you likely have certain checkpoints in saying, if it's below $500, just go ahead and buy it. If it's above, and depending on the organization, if it's above $10,000, it's got to go through a couple different levels. If it's above, more than that, then it's got to go all the way to the CEO. That kind of complexity and approval processes is what you can do with NITRO as well. And we've built that out with our purchase request solution. We do that with custom actions and workflows. I'll show you a little bit of that. Again, like Jeff said, we're not going to go into a full-blown demo, which I think an hour is on the short end of really getting into the nitty-gritty of what we can do here. So I'll kind of take you through that in a little, kind of give you a little overview of that. And then another kind of simple low-hanging fruit is expense reimbursement, right? You got people who are traveling. I'm sure they still have to go and talk to clients, go out to dinners, pay for hotel rooms. You got to reimburse those employees. And how do you get them to do that? Well, you could either have them submit it in email. Again, it gets lost in the shuffle. Did you get my email? Did you see? Oh, sorry, I flagged it and then totally forgot about it. Expense reimbursement solution gives you a again, it's kind of similar to leave request. You got a form, submit it in, the person knows about it. Again, you could, maybe even make it a little more complex in all of the purchase request solution, where you put in a little more approval around it based on the level. Like say, they spent a week in Hawaii with a customer while they spent a whole bunch of money on hotels, over $1,000. You got to get that approved. So you can add that in. And I think, one of the things we're trying to push here is that you can start small and then you can go big, right? So that something like that expense reimbursement could start very simply. I just want to track what are my employees submitting as far as expense reimbursements. You may even want to track the dollar amount of that. You may not have a way to track how much in expense reimbursements you're even paying out over time? You don't know, because maybe it's all through email. You might have something in the financial system maybe, but this gives you another way to kind of see that information more directly. You know, what were they spending it on? What was it being spent? You know, which employees are using it? All that information becomes trackable in a solution. So it gives you, you know, not only the process automation of actually fulfilling that reimbursement, but now you also have data on the back end that you may not have had before to run reports and run analyses on what happened, who did what, where did they go, what were we spending on, why do we spend $1,500 on hotels in the month of January? Well, you can see, okay, XYZ went here, what, here, there, and there. So it gives you that kind of data analysis point, which also helps to improve your processes, improve your productivity. When you have data, you can take action, and that's really a big part of this as well, is collecting that data and then being able to analyze that and take action on it. So it's not just about fulfilling the immediate need of approving that leave request or fulfilling that immediate need of fulfilling the expense reimbursement. It's also on the back end, who did what, when, and where. But we can also take this to another level, and Chris, I think you can move ahead. Yep, thank you. And just kind of give you an example of things we've done that are really quite complex and do with the process improvement and process automation. Is we've done work with a nuclear power plant that is the largest in North America. They have critical essential assets that they needed to maintain. They needed to track vulnerabilities. They needed to track risk assessments. They needed to track a whole lot of things. Who has access to it? What happens if that asset is no longer available? Does it just shut us down for the day, or do we have to like file, you know, a national emergency alert kind of thing? Is it going to blow up? But that's the kind of assessments that were going in through the systems, and all that's being tracked. So it wasn't being tracked in a way that was easily accessible, easily attainable. But we built this whole system for them where it's really quite complex. They upload their vulnerabilities, they see what it's all about, and they can know what the situation is at a drop of a hat, who has access to it, what happens if it goes down, all the information, just on a click of a button, they can get right to it. And then another a project we worked on recently with an aerospace company was to manage their projects from inception to approval to implementation. So they had a situation where projects were being submitted. The board would go and make a decision, but that decision may not get back to the project's initiator right away, so they didn't know they needed to get going on it. They also had difficulty with managing what happens when that project's getting going, where are all my tasks, who's doing what. So we built this whole system for them, really quite complex, that they actually used as a real life example. They actually used it to send a rocket into space, like from project inception to the launch. So it really is quite rocket science, as a matter of fact. So that was really cool to hear, and really cool to see that our tool, a NITRO tool set, was able to manage that process from inception to launch and did it flawlessly, smoothly, and everyone was notified. A lot of communication. So it gives you that, you know, no one's chasing things down. That's a big part of it as well. Like, you know, a lot of us spend time chasing things down. What's the status of this? What's the status of that? Where are we with this project? What's going on over here? So we do a lot of that internally as well with NITRO to help track who's doing what, where's the status of this, how is this customer getting what they need, what are the support tickets that they've submitted. All that's done through process automation in NITRO and in Microsoft 365 and SharePoint in general. So with that, I think I just want to show you a couple of the more simple things. You know, I unfortunately can't show you the power plant or the aerospace one, because those are a little more sensitive. But I can show you some of the more simple ones that we've done: the leave request, the purchase request, and expense reimbursement. I can give you a quick rundown of what that looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and switch to myself as presenter. Move my screen over here and make myself presenter. All right, I'm going to show my screen. So we've got our SharePoint site here where we can, this is kind of like a leave request system. This is a general request manager system, but we can use it for leave requests as well. We also have another leave request system I'll show you in brief. But the way it works with NITRO is you have these forms that you can build out that you can make as simple or as complex as you need. And to capture the information, you can separate out the information via tabs. And then you can also have some workflows and events and things running on the form if you want to get really complex with it. But very simply, you can just select your like categories, issue types. What's the request? Is it leave request? I don't think I got quite that leave request in here, but we can submit the type of request to go through, and then it's going to send out notifications. So you have this form and that intakes the information, and then you have processes that happen on the back end. So you can have these what we like to talk about, the 3 pillars of application development, and it can be used for business process automation too. There's the form of how do we get the information? How do we send the right information to the right people? So you capture the information, then you have workflows and custom actions. I'll then send that information to the people who need to see it or take action on it. And then at the back end, like I was saying, you have reports on this as well. And there's a few different ways that this information can get into the system. So we have this form, go directly into the SharePoint site in Microsoft 365 that can intake the information. This could also be emailed in. So we have an email sync piece of our tool as well. So if your users are more comfortable with email, they can send an email in and it creates a request, and then goes from there. But you can also submit this through a Teams app, a Teams bot, this NITRO Engage app, where you can say submit a leave request, and right in the context of Teams, they don't even have to switch over to SharePoint or switch over to a browser. I happen to be in a browser because I have multiple instances of Teams running, but you don't have to, obviously. You could just be in Teams client itself, enter your information. Again, we're just intaking the information, submitting it in, it goes and creates a record in the system, and then then someone can go and take action from that point forward to deal with it. So kind of real simple way to automate that process of how do I track my leave requests, how do I get them in the system. And you can use that for any kind of request that's coming through. And that's sort of the intention of a request manager tool, is that you can have all sorts of types of requests coming through. It's a request for, maybe it's a request for legal advice. Maybe it's a request for, a change in benefits. It's a request for, something else. You can track all those with our request manager tool that automates those types of things. And I don't think you don't really realize it until you think about it. A lot of what happens in the company is a request. I'm requesting information. Like I need, say, hey Jeff, what's the status of these open projects? Hey Krista, where are we with this marketing initiative? Those are requests, and you can go and submit those requests and get answers, and those are kind of maybe more simple. You just ask someone, but you can see if you have some more process around it, you can automate that. So you can submit this in.
Jumping in on that, if you don't mind, like as we think about the organization and how organizations make requests. I mean, you think there's a sales organization. What if they need some help from marketing? Hey, I need a proposal, or I need whatever. Exactly. It's, maybe, every organization throughout the company, we mentioned HR, hey, we had a new, a baby. How do I, a lot of times, the frustration from the employee standpoint when you're talking about requests is, hey, how do I do this? Sometimes it's, leaning over and said, hey, but a lot of times, a lot of employees, since they don't do those things all the time with any frequency, then it becomes frustrating for them to figure out, how do I even ask for something, right? So
that's right. And then that's sort of the point, is like you give them a way to make it easy for them to ask. They can see what they've already submitted, things like that. So in this request manager tool, you can see here's all requests. You can even see here's my requests that I've submitted. So I have that here. My assigned requests, ones that have been assigned to the person who's working the request. So you can see what's open. So you can track all that. It just gives you a much better way to track it and get the information in a much simpler and quicker way than through an Excel spreadsheet or through email. So it just makes a lot of sense. But there is a lot also, speaking to the complexity, there's a lot of power here to make it and take it even further. So let me jump over to our purchase request solution, which actually will take the purchase request, submit it through the approval process like I was describing, and then create a purchase order on the back end. And that could even be a tie-in to another solution. Maybe you have an ERP solution where you generate your purchase orders. That's fine. We can look at making a connection so that leads into that complexity of it, but makes that complexity also makes your life easier. So just kind of run through the purchase request real quick. You can open one up. Again, you have this form that comes up that you fill out, some details. You can see it automatically puts in who the person is who's submitting it. So you have that information. And then you have your catalog that you can pull from, where you have these line items. So you can go and pull from your preset list of items and say, I want to purchase another computer, Dell Vostro, because the ones we have are getting old. You see it has a set price in there, but maybe that price changed. That's fine. You can go in and make an adjustment to that price, either in the catalog or in this line item directly. You say, I want to get 2 of them, and you can also select a vendor, which we don't have any in here right now, but you could select a vendor to pick from, and then save it. And now you can have multiple of these line items. And you can see it automatically calculates the cost, because I'm buying 2 of these Dell Vostros at $1,200 each. So again, so that leads to that automation piece of it, right? So you could add these in. You don't have to calculate up how much it costs. I also want to get some iPhones. We can get 5 of those. Put in the wrong field. Get 5 of those. Save that. And now you can see your cost has gone up. It automatically calculates how much it is and how much the total purchase order is. And then based on that, you can send it through the approval process. So let me just show you that real quick on how the approval process is designed. So it's running through NITRO custom actions, through NITRO workflows, but the setup of it from your perspective of you coming in here and dealing with it is very simple, because you just simply say it's going to be, here's the level, here's the type of purchase that this would apply to, here's the amount, so that's the amount that the threshold at which that kicks into that next level. So you can see you can have a very simple level where everything goes through this one level approver, then at next level at $1,000 it goes to another person, at $10,000 it goes to another person, but if it's under 10,000, that person never sees it. So you get those different levels like that, where you can add that complexity into the solution. And also wanted to show you real quick our expense reimbursement, which we started working on in a small degree, but it's the same idea. You have a reimbursement request that's coming through, and it needs to get routed to a particular person or individual, or individuals, and it gets automated. So those are the kind of things you can do with the form, process, and then report. And just show you real quick on the report side, you have these reports that you can generate based on different metrics. How many requests are coming in, what's the dollar value of those requests if it's a expense reimbursement or a purchase request. So a lot of that stuff can be managed through NITRO and through the tools that we have for business process automation. Yeah, so I think that kind of covers what I wanted to cover in the demo. As Jeff said, we could go into a lot more detail. There's a lot more in here as far as the bot configuration, as far as the form configuration, as far as the workflow configuration. It gives you really any number of ways to take this to automate things. I love using it internally because we do a lot of that. We're fairly efficiently run company, I like to say, where we do a lot of things we use our own tool, of course, and I find it very helpful in getting communication, notifying people. We're all remote workforce here, so we got to have, when you have a remote workforce, communication is critical, and so having those notifications go through is a critical piece of any business to run efficiently. The left hand has to know what the right hand is doing.
James, are you able to pull up real quick just the visual workflow designer, just to kind of show them?
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, let me go over here and get to it quickly.
So the reason I want to show this here is that we've simplified the creation of workflow. I mean, if you guys are looking at Power Platform, you looked at other solutions. I mean, there's other solutions that exist like this, but we spent a lot of time over the course of years in developing sort of a simple visual drag and drop approach to building workflows. And so as if you map out a workflow, to actually build and create that workflow, especially if it's a transactional simple workflows, like I said earlier, it's something you can get up and running within days, days, and be off and running with your automation strategy.
Yeah, I mean, some of the simple things we're showing you can build in a couple hours once you kind of get Nitro in and learn how to use it. But it's, you know, the workflow's got this designer interface to it where you have a number of different actions that you can run. You got the send mail action for notifications. You can make things a lot more complex with a query, you know, a query list, which is basically like go find items in this other list that meet certain criteria and then take some kind of action on them. You know, there's new, you know, you got some integrations with Teams over here. We can send emails, we can post adaptive cards. There's also a DocuSign integration, which is not in this one. I think the site wasn't quite updated. I started updating all the sites right ahead of the webinar. I don't think it got to this one yet. But there's also a new DocuSign action where you can go connect over to DocuSign for signatures, for e-signature. So that could help your processes as well to automate that. So rather than, you know, writing up the PDF, printing it out, or, you know, saving it, sending it into DocuSign, waiting for that email. It's fairly simple, but this gives you a way to automate that as well. So you don't even have to like take those steps. You could just generate the document through our generate document action, which is down here. And then once you generate that document, send it over to DocuSign. So that can be useful for your purchase requests, purchase orders, or the other forms like that, where you need to have some other person in the company or outside the company sign that document and have it as a e-signature, digital signature. So we have that capability built right into the tool. So really gives you a lot of flexibility. There's, you know, we could take it to the nth degree with invoking workflows, invoking web services, connections out to other tools. You can invoke Azure functions. You can add in, you know, if you're familiar with JavaScript, you can add some JavaScript in here as well. It is a no-code solution. You can run most things without having to know any kind of scripting. But if you do know scripting, you can even take it further, or you have someone on staff who can help you build certain things. You can really take this very, very far. As you know, stated earlier, you have these really complex processes that can be really managed in a tight, controlled way through the Nitro workflows, through the custom actions, and through the forms.
Great. Yeah, thanks for showing that, James. That's good. Chris, maybe Chris can take back over the control of the screen, and then we'll probably wrap up here, everybody, a little bit early, but we'd love to see questions coming through where we can kind of interact with you and maybe, you know, answer some of those, and or maybe you guys even have certain, you know, initiatives or some things that you want to accomplish that you want to run by us, you know, saying, hey, I have this idea, or or I was looking to automate X, Y, or Z. We'd love to, you know, maybe even address that. I think everyone's kind of here to learn from each other. So I think that understanding what other people are doing in other organizations is always interesting as well. So
yeah, I like just to piggyback on that, if you have any specific business process automation initiatives, let us know. Put that in the questions box. We'd love to hear that, and maybe even spend some time talking about that if we have time.
Yeah, so, you know, as we ran through, I talked initially sort of the why, what's happening in the marketplace, you know, what the analysts are saying, you know, kind of getting feedback from business leaders. Going through that demo, I think just for us, the intention was to kind of show you that, yes, you know, we work with companies every day, helping them to automate business processes. We have a tool, a robust tool to help to facilitate that. But then also, what is the impact on the organization? Why automate? You know, and I think that you guys are all smart enough. I'm probably on this, you know, on this webinar to already know the answers to these things. But you know, the why automate, there's a number of reasons. But one, you know, minimize errors. You know, having a system record, you know, as James mentioned, it's in a system. It's not in someone's mailbox. It's not in a spreadsheet in some, you know, file in OneDrive or something somewhere, right? This idea of standardization is everybody's doing it the same way. You know, I think that, you know, whether you call or you email, all of a sudden, you know, in fact, I had one of my employees earlier today, I said, you know, please, you know, do it this way through the system. So we have a system of record, you know, that's, you know, kind of a cover yourself, you know, kind of thing as well, but mostly that it's in the system. The other is, I think, driving efficiencies. We talk about doing more with less. It does absolutely 100% drive efficiencies in an organization to simplify a process. You know, reduces the time, saves time of employees having to deal with these things. Not to mention, we all understand sort of from an RPA perspective, looking at, you know, robotics and systems doing things for you is exponentially faster than us doing them as humans, right? And then on top of that, is contributing to the employee and customer satisfaction. You know, when you simplify something for somebody and you reduce friction, you know, naturally somebody's just going to be, you know, going to be more content, going to be happier. So if you can simplify somebody's job or maybe even business process, I think we all have felt the frustration. I mean, I'm a consumer, you're a consumer, even beyond the work environment, everything seems to be so difficult. You know, my wife, you know, comes to me saying, hey, can you handle this for me? And I'm like, make a phone call. And it just turns into a difficult, you know, process. And I think that, you know, for us, you know, things are difficult enough. So let's just make things easier for our employees and for our organizations, our companies to get things done. You know, right now, according to Salesforce, everybody knows Salesforce, you know, large, you know, sort of CRM automation platform. You know, according to Salesforce and their data, 89% of full-time workers, you can see the number right here, right? It makes them more satisfied when there's automation that's driven into an organization. So we talk about satisfaction. We also talk about this idea of connection. You know, in the remote workforce, you know, it's not a matter of being disconnected from people. That is a problem. That's not what we're talking about here. I think it's disconnected from systems, disconnected from, you know, your ability to get things done in business process just because we're remote. It might be because you're disconnected from someone, but sometimes it's like, hey, how do I get something done? So I think when you make it simple and you surface these things, for example, you do it, and we'll talk about technology in 7, you do it through things like Teams. You surface it through Teams, you put it right in front of them, right in the workplace that they live every day, and you drive automation that way. It does definitely improve employee satisfaction. So I think that the last thing that I wanted to cover here was really around, you know, technology. We all use technology. Every organization has some tech stack that they've invested in. But when you talk about business process automation and you're looking at maybe adding tools from a digital perspective and transforming, you know, the way that you work, you know, it's important to, first of all, understand what tools are you using today? What does that stack look like? How you know, some of that legacy, do we need to kind of reevaluate whether we need to reinvest into new technology? Also, there is current technology that's still, you know, clearly obviously useful, and it's not going to go away. But then how do you leverage that current technology on the back end to eliminate maybe, you know, your employees from having to log into a bunch of disparate solutions? You know, there's multiple logins, there's multiple systems, and in order to streamline that is, again, what we recommend is find opportunities in which way you can surface that on the front end through, for example, again, Teams, right? Or through a portal. You surface that on a front end, you know, easy to use interface. All the work and all of the computing is done on the back end. Maybe there is even, you know, some systems have the ability to drive and create business process automation there as well. But on the front end, you simplified the end user experience by creating a nice, you know, clean, well-designed front end interface to be able to interface with that technology. So I think James mentioned in the demo, you know, you have an ERP solution or you have something else out there. Maybe for payroll, use ADP. All these solutions today, for the most part, have some API, some connector that can be built or that exists that you can connect to those, but you build that automation on the front end. You create automation by starting on the front end and simplifying those for your employees. So that kind of wraps up, you know, our message today that we wanted to get out there. I think, you know, if I were to just from a quick summary of what we talked about is really about, you know, how do we deal with these challenges? As we get into 2023, which is going to be a new, different, unique year for us, you know, we've come out of COVID. We're dealing with a lot of the things that have COVID's caused, I guess, in the global economy. But we still have to do business. We still have to get it done. How do we do that? How do we do that in an affordable and a strategic way? And right now, Crow Canyon, sort of our value proposition to our customers is we have a very affordable, robust tool that will help you get started down that digital transformation journey and building automation and realizing some of these things that are benefits to the organization to overcome some of the business challenges in our economy and sort of marketplace today. So that's it for me, and I really appreciate everybody joining. Do we have any questions at this point that we need to answer? Is everybody pretty quiet? I know it's we're what is it, today, Thursday already? We're almost, you know, almost all the way through the week, but we really appreciate your attendance. Yeah. It seems like the older I get, the days are hours as opposed to, you know, and the weeks are days, I guess.
So true. Yeah. I think that was, I mean, I know I personally found that very interesting. I think we're in a really unique environment, you know, this year. I think there's a lot to consider that's unique to 2023. And certainly being able to take advantage of, you know, making the most of our, you know, unique circumstances and unique, you know, setups. That's, we could talk about this all day.
Yeah. One thing I would say before we go is I would encourage you on the phone, especially, you know, we're very familiar with Power Platform. We're familiar with all the competitive products out there. And, you know, we have nothing but good things to say about, you know, the competition. However, we do think we have a unique value proposition. I think probably on the top of the list is we're very affordable. It's a great way to get started, and it's a great, not to mention it's scalable. But I think that from a price point perspective, I think that's where we've seen a lot of success. Is our price point. So another thing too, what I would encourage you to do is reach out directly to us. I'm sure we'll be reaching out to you as well. You know, Krista on the marketing side will be reaching out to you, but is to go and look and just brainstorm with us, bring some of your initiatives or some of the challenges and things that you might want to consider starting with. Bring that to us and let's talk about it, and let's just see what that looks like in terms of, you know, ease to get started. You know, bring your complex, you know, business processes to us as well. But I think that having a conversation is a great start. It's kind of a no harm, no foul, no pressure. We're a pretty low pressure company. You know, it's either that, you know, it's a good fit or it's not. And so I think for us, you know, we love to do demos. We love to have conversations. And then, you know, and if there's a fit, then, you know, we love to build relationships with our customers and build long-term relationships with our customers. I've been with the company. James has been at the company how long? Over 15 years?
No, it's a little over 10.
A little over 10 years. And I've been here. This is actually my second in this journey of Crow Canyon. This is my second stint here. So I love the company so much. I went and did my own thing and came back. So I'm a big believer in Crow Canyon and what we're doing. And, you know, we have, even me circling back, there's customers that have been with us since I was here, you know, almost 10 years ago. And so I love to see that longevity. And I think it speaks volumes of our commitment to our customers and our customers' commitment to Crow Canyon. So please feel free to reach out. And I see that, you know, our times, well, we're gonna get you some time back on your calendar today. So we hope to hear from you soon.
Thanks so much, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.